they're in the back car are improperly installed. They're either, they're usually too loose, because a lot of parents, they don't want to hurt their child tightening it down, but we just make sure it's installed correctly so nothing happens if they get into an accident. We just want to make sure they're safe.
Car seat thing is, to keep them safe, while the car's in motion. It don't matter if it's, going 10 feet or 15 feet. You need to have them, in the same as your seat belt when when you're traveling. It's to keep them safe, because you never know when you're going to have an accident in the parking lot or going down the road.
Child car seats are mandatory in Mississippi. Chad Groening, WCBI News, Amory.
The Amory Police Department says if you were unable to get an ID card for your children, you can arrange to do so by contacting them. We now have more development on some severe weather tonight. We're going to turn things over back to Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson.
Raleigh, appreciate that. And we are looking at this southern Oktibbeha County storm. There's Starkville right here, right over Sturgis. We are getting word that there's going to be a new tornado warning associated with the southern part of the storm. So let's zoom on in. Technically, that warning hasn't been issued yet. It's not plotting, but we're expecting it to be issued here soon. But for this area right over Sturgis, that little notch right here, we've been following that for the last hour plus. And as we check out our shear rate here, right there east of Sturgis or around Sturgis along Craig Springs Road, this is where we are likely going to have the issue that we will be watching here going forward. So the tornado warning just came on out. Radar indicated near Craig Springs. There's Craig Springs Road right there. And there's Craig Springs itself. This is moving off to the east at 45 miles per hour here, folks. So breaking weather information on WCBI TV with this tornado warning that is going to plot soon, so till 7 o'clock. Okay, and I'm going to do a storm track on that circulation. There's the polygon right there moving east at 45. So this tornado warning does not include downtown Starkville. However, if you live south of downtown Starkville, near Okta, Craig Springs right there, Heritage Colony right here, southeastern Oktibbeha County, this is a tornado warning that will go until 7 o'clock. And again, Okta by 6:30, Sessoms by 6:34, Artesia by 6:40 this evening. So we are watching this situation as it flares back up here in southern parts of Oktibbeha County. So right now, if you are in any of these spots, let's just say Craig Springs Road, Silver Ridge Road, these locations here, I think that is Ennis Road right here, and there's Highway 25. So south of downtown Starkville here, near Craig Springs, we have this tornado warning that goes until the top of the hour now. So we are interrupting WCBI News at 6 for continuing tornado coverage here with this storm that is now basically straddling the Oktibbeha-Winston County line. And let's just lapse this for the last 15 minutes. And you can see it is moving east, not necessarily, maybe slightly north of due east. And this is one of those rogue storms, I guess you could say, that has prompted this tornado warning. So heads up in areas south of Starkville. Let's go back to our MDOT camera there in Starkville, and we can see what's going on over there with that. We have some wet weather. We are out ahead of it here in downtown Starkville. This is Highway 12 at Montgomery, I believe. We're looking back to the west, and you can see what we see right there. Wet weather in the city of Starkville, but the most interesting weather, if there's going to be some, is going to be down here in the southwestern part of Oktibbeha County, and is right here along Craig Springs Road and Silver Ridge Road, Ennis Road, and there's Highway 25 right here. So these locations here, Craig Springs to Starkville, there's the updated scan. It's getting closer and closer to Starkville. Now, technically, downtown Starkville and the university not included in this warning, but we're pretty close on this. And we're going to be watching out for, if nothing else, some fast-moving wind as this whole thing rotates a little bit closer and closer to the city of Starkville. So basically, just to be on the safe side, folks, if you're in Starkville, you may just want to get into your storm shelter, your basement, your interior room away from windows because it's very, very close at this point, and we've got that circulation really just coming up Highway 12 into the city of Starkville. So just to hedge the bet, this is Doppler radar indicated at this point. The storm, or this complex of storms, has had a history of producing, if nothing else, some large hail as it's been moving on through too. We are continuing to watch this part of the storm, the southwest part of the storm, right there. And Alex, do you have some additional information maybe to chime on in with?
Yeah, and if you've been watching us over the past, an hour or so, you've been noticing me saying this a lot, but I'm going to say it again. You see these really bright reds, these really bright greens. This is going to be one of those days where it's going to take more of a trained eye to pick out what's going on here, because yet again, we've got these really bright reds and greens, but they're showing up in what we call the weak echo region. It's that inflow part of the storm. The actual rotation is back in here, and we got the new scan there. We're going to be watching that pretty closely, but it pops out to you on radar if you look at the velocity. This is a little bit misleading. The actual circulation is back in here, and so that's what we're watching. Some days this is just how it goes. You get these really strong updrafts and you get the environment just right. You can get those sort of those false echoes on radar, if you will. But we do have that hook shape. We've obviously got a circulation here on the southwest flank of the storm, and so that's what the tornado warning is going to be for. Again, as Keith said, this is moving maybe a hair north of due east. The circulation's crossing Craig Springs Road right now. If you're watching us in Craig Springs, we want you in a safe place. Again, right now, at least, it looks like the circulation is going to stay south of Starkville proper, but certainly if you're watching us over towards Poorhouse Road, I would go ahead and start thinking about getting in my safe place right now. There could be some hail, although I don't think it will be all that large, approaching Highway 25 right now, south of Deerfield. Again, the hail signature not as strong anymore with this, but we do have the circulation that we're dealing with at this point. This is going to continue to move off the east-northeast. Tend to think this circulation is going to cross Highway 25 somewhere just south of Deerfield. Again, we'll see if this thing could take a left or right turn. Most of the storms today haven't, but we'll continue to watch that as we go through the next few minutes and let you know if we need to change the track. But right now, at least downtown Starkville, you look like you're doing okay as far as the tornado threat's concerned.
Yeah, you're showing that weak echo region there in the 2D, but this is it in the 3D. As we come back, oh, I just lost it. Let me draw this back up here. We have a pretty good, well, in 3D, you can see it right here. So the wind would be flowing into that notch right there, and that's building the updraft here too. So on the backside of it, if there's going to be one of these tornadic circulations, that thing on the backside, that's where it would be. But at this point, this is just radar indicated, of course, and a pretty stout looking storm just from a 3D radar perspective here. And again, the wind is flowing into that and up into the storm. So that is what we are tracking here. It is now 6:16 here on our Saturday evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson, and along with the entire weather team, we are continuing to follow this developing weather situation, tornado warning, with some rotation, but nothing confirmed. The shear rate, let's go back to that. There could be some very strong gusty winds coming into South Starkville right now between Craig Springs and the city limits there. We're along 25 now, moving into the southern part of the city. So just a heads up here, again, does not include downtown Starkville, but areas from Poorhouse Road south, you need to be aware that this includes you. The Bethel Road, Hill Road, Mount Olive Road. These storms today have had a history of some wind damage around the region, also some tornadoes around the region too. Not too much tornadic activity in the core of the WCBI viewing area. However, we've been looking at some squirrely looking circulations as we've gone throughout the course of the evening. The storm looked a little bit more impressive a few scans ago there, Alex. It doesn't look too exciting at this point. From a radar perspective, that's good. We don't want to see this thing really spin up.
It is, but Keith, we've noticed, I think, with all the storms today, they've looked interesting, but something's just a little bit off about them so far, which, again, that's a good thing. I will point out, and again, I'm going to keep pointing this out, we've got this sort of what looks like a strong circulation. This isn't it, though. once again, we're still in that weak echo regions where we're picking up that strongest circulation. So that's something the Weather Service has been keeping a close eye on. The actual circulation is where the rain's getting wrapped back around back here on the southwestern flank. This is looking a little bit ugly at this point. In a good way as far as the tornado threat's concerned. It doesn't look textbook by any stretch. Having said that, we could get a tornado to drop down out of something like this. We have seen uglier storms produce tornadoes. This is going to be near Craig Springs right now. This is going to cross Highway 25, probably somewhere between Craig Springs and Heritage Colony and Deerfield. So if you're watching us over towards Deerfield, you want to be in a safe place. Heritage Colony, you want to be in a safe place. Keith, as you said, I think generally areas along and south of Poorhouse Road, that's where we want you in your safe place. And even if you're watching us over towards Oktok, you want to be in a safe place too. As well, and ultimately this thing's going to continue to push off to the east towards Sessoms. If this can hold together, it would push into Lowndes County near Artesia. Near Artesia. It would not take that long. These storms are moving east about 45, 50 miles an hour. Now, I have not noticed the lightning. If it's still there, although it does not look as impressive as it is over Choctaw County.
No, we don't really have a lot of clouded ground strikes. That's what we are displaying here. I do want to go over to Jacob Raleigh here. He's got a cool looking picture from this storm cell from when it was around Ackerman not too long ago. So let's go over to him for a little preview of that.
Yeah, hey there, Keith. Actually, I have a viewer picture sent in from Miss Marty Calhoun on the iPad here. If we can go ahead and pull that source up. This was the tornado warm storm as it was over Ackerman, Mississippi a little earlier today. This was at around 5:30 p.m. That's whenever we were receiving reports of it being on the ground producing damage. There's another view of it sent in from Marty Calhoun there out of Ackerman, Mississippi. This was around 5:38 p.m. This was that initial storm that has recently died off, but again, we do have that tornado warning storm there in southern Oktibbeha County. That's going to continue to push on off to the east through southern portions of Oktibbeha County, Keith. We could see some more development with that, but in this picture you can see we do have more daylight with that, so we're actually able to see more of that, whereas now we're getting into more of the nighttime, more of the overnight hours, so we likely won't be able to see much more of this type of structure in the atmosphere.
And that's beautiful structure from a storm perspective. It looks like something we would see, let's say, in the high plains,
right,
or something like that. Not necessarily here in North Mississippi, one of those spaceship-looking things. Thanks a lot, Jacob, for those pictures right there. Let's come back on over to analyze the storm situation. We still have this tornado warning in Oktibbeha County, and great rotation in parts of the storm, but we've just not been able to get the low-level rotation to really develop in a lot of these storms today. And those are the circulations that would produce the tornado threat. And right now, that's always a good situation. Now, if you're thinking, oh my goodness, Keith, this is just like what we had 2 weeks ago. If you're watching from the city of Columbus, we have a storm moving in from Oktibbeha County. At this point, we're still monitoring it for some rotation. It does not appear to be as intense as what we had 2 weeks ago. However, these things can spin on up, and the air is still pretty primed and somewhat juicy, and we still have some wind energy zipping on through the area today. Okay, Jacob's telling me to go back to the city of Starkville with our MDOT camera. So in Starkville right now, here's a live view, and you can see what we're contending with on the north side of it. We have torrential downpours here. It looks like you can see waves of rain, sheets of rain blowing on through. The camera is bobbing around a little bit, the power lines too. We still have some power here. Would not be at all surprised in some spots to lose power as we go throughout the next hour or so as that storm continues to churn on through parts of Oktibbeha County. But that's a live view in downtown Starkville. Again, this is north of that rotation, but right now it is coming on down. People still out. And again, downtown Starkville, the city of Starkville, not technically in this tornado warning, but if you live south of there, you just need to be forewarned that we have this situation just to the south. So that camera was right here. The circulation center is down here south of the city, Alex.
And there's thunderstorm warning in effect for Starkville. No tornado warning. Severe thunderstorm warning is in effect, though, for the potential for some strong straight-line winds up to 60 miles an hour. So I would recommend, unless you really just have to be on the roads, not to be on the roads in Starkville right now. Not a fun drive by any stretch of the imagination. You saw those sheets of rain getting blown by on the MDOT camera. That's because the wind's really blowing there. Now, again, we're continuing to watch this circulation. This is misleading. We've been telling you that today. That is not in the part of the storm that it needs to be in. When you see strong wind returns on radar, but there's no rain to support it, we tend to think there's some squirrely stuff going on there. We still do have sort of that hook, though, with this storm. That is crossing State Highway 25 right now. State Highway 25 runs just like that, south from Starkville, south from Deerfield, and then back down into Winston County. This is about to, is crossing Highway 25 right now. It's going to approach Switzer Road here, Bethel Road. It's going to approach Heritage Colony on the south side, cross Pike Road probably just south of Heritage Colony, and ultimately approach Oktok and Oktok Road. So obviously we don't want anyone driving on Oktok Road from Starkville down to Oktok right now either, because you're driving right into a tornado-warned storm right towards the circulation. As I've said, the circulation is sort of displaced here, so we have to take what we're seeing there with a grain of salt, but just based on this radar image alone, we have enough evidence to say there is some rotation here that's pulling this rain back around the backside, so it's getting wrapped back around. Again, right now the good news is we have no confirmation of this. We haven't seen a debris signature. We don't have any spotters confirming anything. That's fantastic news. We hope it stays that way. Right now we don't have any indication that this thing's on the ground, but we want you to treat it like it is. And so that means we want you to go ahead and get in your basement or storm shelter if you've got one. Underground is best. If you don't have that, we want you to get in lowest floor of your home or apartment, wherever you are, interior room. Okay, typically it's going to be a bathroom or a closet. But you want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Again, we don't have confirmation of a tornado, but we want you to treat it like it is down. Maybe some small hail in this crossing Pike Road right now, the circulation just to the west of there. Keith?
All right, Alex, and appreciate the information there. I think we've got meteorologist Jacob Dickey on the phone. He's out and about here. And what can you tell us as we look with our Alpha Insurance camera in Columbus looking back towards that storm?
Hey, Keith, we're traveling south on 45A between Crawford and Brooksville right now. We're going to go to Brooksville and then turn back to the north here. As we look at the storm off to our west, we're seeing some lightning with the updraft there. You may very well be seeing that in Columbus also. Just continuing to watch this well-defined structure with it from what we're able to see. Of course, those trees in Mississippi can sometimes really mess with our view, but in between, we're catching glimpses of where that updraft should be, and that lightning is helping to illuminate it here. Now, folks are driving around and about out here, and in Noxubee and in Lowndes County, the tornado warning is not in effect for those areas. So 45A and 45 right now, not under a warning. However, I think as this storm continues to move to these places from Artesia to Crawford, north of Brooksville on 45 between Brooksville and the airport west of Columbus, are really going to want to have their heads up eventually down towards New Hope, say the Pickensville Road down in southeastern Lowndes County. Just a first heads up for y'all down there to keep weather aware as this storm moves off to the east. But we're going to continue to monitor that here and keep our eyes on this storm. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Jacob Dickey in the field, thank you very much. We were looking at that lightning here in Columbus. Let's go back over to meteorologist Jacob Raleigh for another update here.
Hey there, Keith. Yeah, I just got in some viewer video here near Sturgis on Highway 25, near or north of Sturgis here from Mr. Landon Cochran. This is a pretty cool video here. I want to show you. He got this storm. It looks to the north of him. Here, as we loop this through, you can see the well-defined structure there, but look at this lightning strike that's about to hit right there close to him. We recommend you do not try this at home, that you go inside of your house, seek shelter in an interior room away from the outside walls and windows, because these storms are pretty dangerous right now, producing that lightning and potentially tornadoes across the area. Alex?
By definition, thunderstorms have lightning. You want to be indoors. Alex, what do you want to chime in with?
I was just going to say, looking back into that dark lowering there, that was mostly just rain. You're not going to get a view of this thing. Now we've lost the daylight. There's a ton of rain with all these things. These are just ugly looking storms at this point. There's not that much lightning with this either. So there's no point in trying to go outside and get any video or pictures of this at this point. You just need to get in a safe place. This circulation is now approaching the north side of Oktok. It's approaching Heritage Colony right now. One of the things the Weather Service was noting is that we don't have the deep purples anymore. It doesn't look like it's producing hail. Sometimes that can be a precursor to a tornado dropping down. Not a guarantee here, but they are still sticking with this tornado warning. We have been talking to you about how the circulation is not in the right part of the storm, to be quite frank. I'm going to stop the loop here. I'm going to stop the loop and show, well, I said I'm going to stop the loop. There we go. Now we've got it. There's your circulation here, but it's not in an area that it should be. It's back over here where you see these light blues. We call this the weak echo region. This is where the updraft is going into the storm. We should, if we were seeing a tornado, we should be seeing the circulation back here in the hook. We're not right now. Now that may change as we go through the next few minutes. Right now, it doesn't look like there's a tornado down, but the reason the warning has been issued is we do have rotation. We have this very sort of classic supercell look with the hook echo there. And because of the environment we're in, it would not take very long for a tornado to touch down. So with that in mind, we want you in a safe place in Heritage Colony. This thing's crossing Pike Road right now, the area of circulation crossing Pike Road. It's going to be crossing Oktok Road here on the north side of Oktok within the next 2 to 5 minutes. After that, this thing's going to continue to push east. It's going to cross Highway 45 alternate somewhere between Crawford and Artesia. No warning for Lowndes County as of yet. But for now, we're going to continue to watch this. I'm going to send this over to Jacob Riley.
Hey there, Alex. Yeah, so I got another picture coming in. You were sitting there talking about the updraft. If we go ahead and pull that up on the iPad, you can actually kind of see the updraft associated with this storm here. Now this storm is the same location I just showed you with a video there, just north of Sturgis. If we zoom in here a little bit, you can see some of those higher wind returns on velocity that you were looking at a while ago, a little bit of the blue that was showing up as well. That's more than likely what we're seeing on radar. Again, this is just north of Sturgis, but there you can see that inflow going up into the storm, and that's what's making that little bit of a hook echo that we like to talk about on radar. And that's where we do see those rotating winds associated with the storm as it continues to push through southern portions of Oktibbeha County. So I'll go ahead and turn things back over to you, Alex.
Yeah, and again, that's another picture where you've got a lowering there. You're not really going to see much more than that. And then now, the fact we really have got lightning turned on. We're not seeing much of anything, none really in this storm at this point. You're not going to be able to see anything with this. With the amount of rain we've got in this and the amount of the fact that these things have been rain wrapped, you've got literally no chance to get a view of anything that's going on in this storm at this point. The area of circulation, as I said, now approaching Oktok Road, probably crossing that within the next 2 minutes on the north side of Oktok. Ultimately, it's going to continue to push off to the east. Some heavy rain falling right now in places like Sessoms, Hickory Grove Estates. Some heavier rain in this, maybe some small hail, and probably some gusty winds in this too. The tornado threat here in the southwestern flank of this storm right here at the hook echo. As we've been talking about, I'll circle this here to show you. We've got this inflow area. This is what we call the weak echo region. And if we switch over to the velocity product, that's right where that strongest circulation is. We're not, so because of that, we don't think that that particular echo is reliable. That's not the most reliable data. The circulation we're concerned about is back over in here. There's the new scan. It's crossed Oktok Road, and this is going to sort of ride Robinson's Road, cross Lake Shore Drive, and then ultimately cross Crawford Road here just south of Sessoms as it approaches the county line. And it's approaching it at a pretty good clip, Keith. So we'll see what they decide to do here with Lowndes County. I'll say this, right now I don't see anything that suggests that this has changed in any way since we've been going through the past 15 minutes.
No, we're going to watch this through the near term here. Here's a live view in downtown Columbus. Now, don't freak out here in Columbus. I know we're watching that storm. It's getting close to Lowndes County. We just had our tornado episode 2 weeks ago today. But we're looking back to the west. There has been some cloud-to-cloud lightning. We showed you that video of that cloud-to-ground lightning. But there's the view from Columbus. We don't see like constant lightning here. So let's go back to the radar.
We're going to a downstream warning for Lowndes.
Okay, so they are going to be extending the tornado warning now into Lowndes. That is likely going to include parts of the Columbus area, probably along and south of 82, just looking at the general track of this. So if you're watching in Lowndes County, we're getting another tornado warning here soon. This is likely going to include parts of the Columbus area. So there you go. And the Oktibbeha County warning goes until 7. But we are going to have an extension on that will include Lowndes. So let's just say Bent Oak, Artesia, Penns, these areas along 45, Mayhew, Artesia, you're under the gun now, be in your safe zone, also the Penns community. Right there along 45, also these communities, Billups, Bent Oak, areas between there and the city of Columbus. We could almost just draw a line here and say this circulation looks like it's moving slightly north of due east. So we could almost just say this swath right here would take it right into parts of Lowndes County. That may or may not include all of the city of Columbus, but if you are watching in northern Lowndes County, Caledonia, most likely this is not going to be including you, just looking at where the storm is headed. So consider that for what it's worth. Doppler radar indicated tornado near Oktok, moving east at 45 miles per hour. So there's the new polygon and basically matches what we just drew. The polygon comes right into half of the city of Columbus. So Main Street South, you're in this tornado warning. Let's just say the entire city of Columbus is in a tornado warning right now. And we will continue to watch this as it rolls on into town. So this is moving east. Where's our circulation? Let's do a storm track near Penns, our shear rate. All right, so this little notch we've been watching, we've got a circulation here. This does not mean we have a tornado on the ground, okay? So we have a circulation that could produce a tornado. That warning goes until 7:15, by the way. And I'm just going to draw this out here, 45 miles per hour, and that would put it into downtown Columbus by 6:56, and areas near Trinity, 6:51, so maybe out towards the state line by 7 o'clock. So it's a rapid moving storm, moving at highway speeds, heads up in the city of Columbus. You know the drill. We are tornado savvy here in the Columbus area after what we've been through and what we deal with on a yearly basis here in North Mississippi and West Alabama. We're just getting the sirens that go off here in Columbus. We have a tornado warn situation coming on in to the city of Columbus's Doppler radar indicated warning. And let's go back to our shear rate here. It's not really picking up on that tight dot or circulation, or sometimes we get an S shape. Sometimes we get something that looks like an octopus. We've got meteorologist Jacob Dickey on the phone. He's north of Brooksville right now. Jacob, tell us what you see.
Hey, Keith, we are north of the Brooksville split here where 45A goes towards Crawford, 45 regular comes towards Columbus. We're looking off to the north-northwest right now, and we've seen some lightning here. Hopefully we get a flash. We can tell there's an area where this rotation would be, but it's hard to define now that we're getting to darkness. One thing we will look for here as we're out is if there's any power flashes. That will be a sign that something may be on the ground, or at least there's some wind damage, but we have not seen that. We cannot confirm anything at this time. I think it's a safe bet, though, as this storm comes off to the east, that it very well will have some wind and maybe a little bit of hail. It's definitely something to monitor and stay weather aware as we go through the Artesia, Crawford areas right now, eventually north of Brooksville towards the southern parts of Columbus and New Hope. So we're going to go north slowly here in just a minute or so on 45 towards Columbus and watch this go right in front of us. It should give us a really good vantage point here, but right now with darkness settling, unfortunately that's something where we cannot see the storm, and if something happens it will be hard to confirm. So the best bet is just to treat this as if it's an actual tornado warning. Take your safe precaution. Be prepared, not scared. You want to be weather ready for this event here in case something does spin up. That's the safest thing to do. If something does happen, we'll call back in, and we'll check back in as it passes right in front of us on 45 North between Columbus and Brooksville here in probably about 5 minutes or so. Send it back to you in the studio, Keith.
Jacob, you're in an excellent position. You are south of the circulation center, so yeah, creep up on that and see what you can see. There's not a lot of lightning in this, so it's going to be hard to see what exactly is going to come out of this now that we are after sunset, but it is what it is, and we will check back in with Jacob and monitor his feed here as we go throughout the near term. I do want to do a quick look at our Alpha Insurance camera from downtown Columbus. Again, we are under a tornado warning now in the city of Columbus, especially the south side, and you just need to be in your tornado safe zone right now. We're not looking at a confirmed tornado unlike what we had 2 weeks ago. This is Doppler radar indicated still at this time. So you have that, folks. You have that to think this is only radar indicated. There's some wind potential. Even the gradient wind outside of the storm still kicking up the wind here, and the rain's moving on in too. So the rain will come in first before whatever happens. So this thing, if it does drop a tornado, it would be very hard to see, wrapped in some sort of rain. We've seen those pictures, a great looking structure on the storm, Alex, but we just can't get that circulation to come on down. Yeah, and that's Keith, a good thing, though.
It is. And Keith, as you were alluding to, look, we understand folks are a little sensitive around here right now. Obviously, you know, there's some tensions are high based on recent events. I just want to reassure everybody, just take a deep breath and we'll get through this. I wanted to tell everyone what you need to do at this point. If you've got a basement or storm shelter, you're set. Head there. Underground is the best place to be. If you don't have that, then you want to be interior room, lowest floor of your home, apartment, wherever you are. That's typically going to be a bathroom or closet. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. You notice there are no exterior walls in that room, no walls facing the outside. That's the kind of room you want in this situation. Again, this is one of those things where we don't want you to get scared. We want you to have respect for the storm and just understand what you need to go through at this point. Right now, the folks that need to be getting into shelter, Artesia and Penns. This thing is probably crossing Highway 45. It is right now. And then ultimately, this thing's going to continue to ride up. If you're watching us in Billups, Ben Oak, we want you in a safe place. This thing is probably going to cross Highway 45, Highway 45 south, near the Ben Oak community, maybe a little bit south of there. And ultimately, if it does hold together, this may impact part of parts of southern Columbus. But as we have been saying, this is not a classic-looking storm by any stretch of the imagination. The circulation just has been in a strange spot in the storm through most of its life cycle. It's relatively broad right now. That's all good things. But we do need to treat this thing with some respect and seriousness, and we want you to get in your tornado-safe place right now. We do have the warning that's still technically in effect for Oktibbeha County, the eastern side of the county. This thing has... Okay, and they just did cancel. I was going to say, this thing is now totally into Lowndes County, so if you're watching us in Oktibbeha County, you've got the all clear from this storm, but the threat still continues for Lowndes County at this point. And again, it looks squirrely. We'll pop on the shear rate. We are picking up some reds. We're picking up some reds there at this point, so that's an indication that maybe it's trying to ramp up a little bit, but that rotation's a little more broad, and something to keep in mind. The shear rate picks up strong straight-line winds, just like it does tornadic winds. And in this situation, we don't have a tight circulation, but we have enough there, and we have an environment today where we could see a tornado touch down, and it could touch down rather quickly. So with that in mind, again, treat this thing like it is like the tornado is down. It's just the course of least regret for you. We're watching some of these other showers and storms out here. I don't see anything at this point that is of major concern. Really, the only concern for us right now is this Lowndes County storm. I will point out we've got some heavy rain starting to push into northern Lowndes County, east of West Point now, it's pushing out of Clay into southern Monroe, northern Lowndes. If you're watching this in Caledonia, probably going to see some heavy rain, some gusty winds. That storm not severe, and it's not tornadic at this point. We'll keep an eye on it, but right now the tornado warning is for the southern half of Lowndes County. Keith?
Showing you those things that look like spaceships, those great pictures of those supercell storms earlier. This is the same complex, and this is a 3D view of this, and we're getting this great inflow notch right here in the 3D. Look at that. So the wind's probably whipping up in there, and we've got that circulation in the low to mid levels of the storm. And if this thing were to tighten up a little bit, then we would be a little bit more concerned at this point. But right now, we're still like, let's just say we're teetering on the brink of destruction. But right now, this is just a Doppler radar indicated type tornado warning situation for us. So in the 3D, it looks really impressive. And those pictures look really impressive. From a shear rate perspective, it's looking a little bit better. If nothing else, there could be some strong wind in this particular part of the storm too. So this is a 15-minute lapse. I'll just scroll back and forth. It's moving east to northeast right up Artesia Road. We've been through this drill before. And just be aware, if you guys lose power here tonight, we're streaming live, wcbi.com/live. We will stay there as long as we can if you lose power at your house tonight. Jacob's on the phone. Let's go to Jacob. What do you got?
Hey, Keith, I'm out here north of Brooksville right now. You mentioned some of the structure on this. There's enough daylight that I can see, but I don't think the camera picks it up very well. You may see some light on the left third of the screen. We were able to make out a little bit of a lowering coming in with this storm. I can't tell if it was rotating, but it was definitely an area of suspicion to watch here. And if this thing were to spin up, we may very well see something on here, but definitely can tell there's some rotation on the storm here in the mid-levels up above. It's got that nice look to it, that nice clean look that some of those viewer pictures earlier were showing. It has crossed now 45A and is now moving towards 45, the route between Brooksville and Columbus. And it's going to pass just a few miles in front of us here. Did not see anything to the ground. It was about a third of the way down, so there's still some distance that it would have to make if it does so. But again, watching this, it looks suspicious, and it's never good when we've got darkness hiding something like this because we can't see it. So the best advice is for folks that are in front of this, go ahead and just take your tornado precautions. It is the best thing to do out of abundance of caution. That's going to include areas south of the airport. There's the Shell station on Highway 82 west of Columbus, south of there, south of 182 towards New Hope downstream. Just take your precautions. That's the best and safest thing to do. Not a lot of lightning with this either, and that may be a good sign. Sometimes we like to see robust lightning if there's some sort of tornado genesis that may happen, but that's not happening. But it's going to be hard to see here. I will note, while we were in Brooksville, we were getting gas. There was a lot of south winds, a little bit back towards the south-southwest. Some inflow trying to come ahead of this storm. So it could very well grab some of that, but we're going to watch this, continue to monitor it here as it passes just to our north. We're going to be on 45 and slowly tracking the north here. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Jacob, appreciate the information right there. And that circulation, if we are going to get anything, it is essentially about ready to cross Highway 45 near the Bend Oak area here in southwestern parts of Lowndes County. That would be the area of concern right here. So we're continuing to get some new information here. By the way, we have a tornado watch in effect for parts of the area. Some of you have actually been dropped off of that watch. So Alex, chime in on in with some new info.
Yeah, I've got sort of what we still have as far as tornado watch is concerned and what we don't have at this point. So we're just going to go through this county by county here. If you're watching us in Alcorn, Benton, Prentice, Union, or excuse me, not Prentice. If you're watching us in Alcorn, Benton, Union, Pontotoc, Calhoun, Chickasaw counties, this goes until 7 p.m. Tornado watch till 7 p.m. Everybody else, tornado watch until 9 p.m. You can see a lot of the western counties here: Montgomery, Carroll, Grenada, Yalobusha, Lafayette, Atala, Leake, Neshoba, and Kemper counties have all been dropped from the tornado watch, but it does continue for all the counties in yellow there. Again, some folks until 7 p.m. For most of the folks watching, this is going to go until 9 p.m. Again, our main concern right now is the storm over into Lowndes County. So we're going to send things over to, is it Jacob Riley?
Well, no, I'm going to want to show this real quick. This is a live view from our downtown location here in Columbus. I moved the camera back down to the southwest, looking at where that circulation would be. I know we can't see anything, it's dark, but what we would be looking for would be for some power flashes at some point in time here if this thing were to hold together and actually produce a tornado in Lowndes County. Now, we don't really have a lot of lightning, and that would be a great help if we actually had some lightning out there tonight. But right now, it's just not conducive. The atmosphere is not producing a lot of lightning with these storms here right now, at least cloud to ground. But we're still looking at a little bit of rotation there southwest of Columbus near Bent Oak. It's showing up on the velocity. And Jacob Dickey is just south of that rotation. As you can see his box right there, he's traveling north along 45 to try to intercept what you see there behind Alex. And this is a live view from downtown WCBI, where we are just waiting to see if anything can pop on into view. Right now it looks pretty still as far, that's just a little bit of water dropping off the lens. Got a little bit excited there. I thought it was a flash.
I just wanted to add something here. We've been talking about the fact that we've seen that the circulations have not necessarily been in the right spot. That doesn't necessarily to be the case anymore. This is not a strong circulation, but we have a circulation near Ben Oak. And again, you can see it's matched up now with the rain. It's matched up with the hook. So despite the fact it may not have as bright of colors, I would say right now the tornado threat is probably a little bit higher than it was a few minutes ago based on what we're seeing right now near the community of Bent Oak. So if you're watching us there, this thing is going to be pretty close to State Highway 789 and Artesia Road. That runs just like this. So the circulation right over there in the community of Bent Oak. And again, this is moving off to the east-northeast. Ultimately, this is going to be approaching, this is sort of on the northern end of the polygon here, approaching the southern end of Columbus here in the next few minutes.
I'm plotting some cities over here, Alex, and I just want to chime in. Yeah, that circulation has tightened up just a little bit. Let me bring those back up. So Columbus safe zone now, 6:56 is when the estimated time of arrival of that little circulation couplet that Alex was just talking about. So we are tracking that couplet right there down along that line, and that would take it very close to downtown Columbus, probably just south. Those of you from downtown Columbus south, including the Whiteberry area, again, New Hope, areas on the state line, even into northwestern Pickens County. This is a central Lowndes County issue right now, not southern, not northern, but from Bent Oak, Highway 45 into central and southern Columbus and areas over towards New Hope. That's what we are looking at. The BTI value on this, just FYI, that's one of these things we look at 0 to 10. Right now in the meaty part of the curve there, about 4.4. So it's an item of interest, and we will continue to see how this thing evolves. So let's go back to our shear rate, and it's looking pretty good here from a fast-moving wind perspective. So again, you could lose some power, and we just have to be prepared. If you lose power, you can always watch us on our live stream, wcbi.com/live. Dial it up on your phone right now. Just have it ready to go, and you'll be okay, hopefully, as we continue with our coverage here. So Jacob is back on the phone. Let's go back up for another update with him.
Hey, Keith, we are looking at that area near Ben Oak right now. It's straight in front of the camera, and again, it's going to be hard to see with you, but with my eyes, I could make out an area of lowering back in there, and that's something that right after I got off the phone, I heard you guys talking about it, and that's something that I was looking at. So it's hard to see, but there's something going on back there that we need to monitor. We're going to race a little further to the north here on 45 and get closer to that and get our eyes on that. But again, I heard you saying Columbus, the time is now. Unfortunately, I think that's right, and well worth just taking those precautions, even if there's nothing on the ground as of now, or there's not something on the ground coming, it may still do that. So we're going to watch this and keep our eyes on it here. And again, you mentioned the Ben Oak area. Looking right out there at the camera, that's what we're looking at. It's about straight in front of the camera, just off the road here. We're passing 792. It goes up to the east of the 45. There's some factories that are back there to the right that you might know, and that's where we're at now, looking off to the north. So if you're in Brooksville, Knox City County, fine down there. If you're to the north in Caledonia or over in Mayhew, fine over there. Artesia and Crawford, you're fine there. This is now becoming a central and eastern Lowndes County problem, something we're watching and continuing to monitor here. If there is something that is on the ground and does some damage with power flashes, we will catch it on this camera and report back to you in the studio. We're going to keep the camera up and keep going here to the north. We'll send it back to you, Keith. Meteorologist Jacob Dickey reporting south of Columbus on Highway 45. Keith?
Okay, yeah, and that circulation center is basically drifting through Robinson Road, Lime Rock Drive there, Evans Road here, approaching the 10-Tom Waterway just south of the city of Columbus. So again, remember your tornado safety drill. Interior rooms away from windows, basements, storm shelters, what have you. Mobile homes are not safe structures. So just FYI, we are monitoring the circulation here as we continue to watch. If nothing else, there's going to be some gusty wind associated with this as it moves on through. At this point, we are going to go back to our Alpha Insurance camera here in downtown. The circulation would be getting very close to our camera site here, and we would be looking out for power flashes or something to that extent. I'm going to step out real quick. You can see the water tank right here, and we're looking back to the west and southwest. And if something were to come on in, we are still looking at some city lights out there, so hopefully we can illuminate something and just see how this all comes on in. But right now it's 6:52. You're watching severe weather coverage here on WCBI TV. Tornado warned storm in Lowndes County, Mississippi, moving into the city of Columbus. And we are just continuing to watch the southwestern horizon for something here as we go throughout the next couple of minutes. But that circulation, if it's going to get here in the city, it's basically on our doorstep right now, Alex.
Yeah, and I'll say this, Keith, this circulation's getting kind of nervously close for me to the northern end of this polygon. So right now, the circulation on radar is near Robinson Road. That scanned from a couple of minutes ago. This thing's probably closer to Old Macon Road right now. I would say, despite the fact you're not in the polygon, I'd say from Arrington Park south, we want you in a safe place in Columbus right now because of the fact that this circulation is really sort of flirting with the northern end of this polygon right now. Again, the good news, we don't have any confirmation of a tornado down. The bad news is the Weather Service sort of noting the fact that we were noting this a few minutes earlier, Keith, that circulation has sort of tightened up a little bit here. It is there. And this thing is approaching downtown Columbus right now. I would say that's probably a safe thing to say at this point. This is on the northern end of this polygon. So right now, downtown Columbus, and then ultimately pushing off to the east, places like the Downs subdivision, Dean Acres, Cole subdivision. This is probably going to stay north, or it should stay north of places like Lynn Estates or anything like that.
And on just a positive note here, we still have all lights visible here in downtown. So we haven't lost any power, at least in the downtown core, that I can tell with our Skycam.
That's a good sign. That is a very good sign at this point, and hopefully that trend continues. At a minimum, we've got some pretty strong straight line winds in this thing right now, crossing Old Macon Road. And again, probably the highest threat as far as Columbus is concerned is along and south of Highway 82. But I would say everybody from Arrington Park south probably needs to be in a safe place right now based on this circulation. And it's passing pretty much over downtown right now. So again, it's a good thing. We're not seeing anything in the Skycam here. The reflectivity is a little bit unusual looking for a tornado warning, and again, we may still be in that weak echo region, Keith.
Yeah, it is a bit squirrely there. It's not that classic signature. We just heard some sirens go by the station here. Sounds like it could be a fire or police. Don't know what that is. Also, the sirens are still going off in Lowndes County, I do believe. And we're just watching this from a visual perspective. If there's going to be some sort of circulation, it would be very close to us here right now. Maybe it's scooting by just to the south. Again, we are after dark here. We can't see anything with our Skycam as far as what could be coming out of these clouds. Getting reports that there are lowerings with this thing. Jacob's reported that, and I think you can see on his feed there in that bottom left box the city lights of Columbus trying to illuminate something. He's on the phone right now, so maybe you can chime on in, Jacob, with your visual.
And you're on.
Hey, Keith, still watching this here. I think you can see the light in our live stream right now. That is the city of Columbus there. We're looking to the north and to the east. A bit of a lowering there. In fact, you just saw a flash of what was lightning in that stream there. Not a lot to work with, but the light and our angle is giving us a good vantage point of that lowering. It's too dark and too hard to see if there's any rotation. I do want to note, though, there was a lightning flash a little bit ago due east of us. Another area maybe trying to spin up or something. It looked a little lower and suspicious. I might want you to kind of look at it, too, towards the New Hope area, kind of south and west of town there. We're kind of seeing two areas right now. One over the city of Columbus, another maybe due east of us, kind of heading towards New Hope, still in that polygon. So something worth watching and something worth monitoring here. Have not heard of any damage out here in the field. Have not heard of any reports of a touchdown from the National Weather Service, but continuing to monitor here this storm system as it moves off to the east through Lowndes County, New Hope, Steens, areas on Highway 82 towards the Alabama state line. Now is the time to be in your safe places. The time is up. Just get there, be prepared, and be safe when this storm is coming on through. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
But you were referenced that point due east of your location. So there's a couple of couplets here. They're not classic gate-to-gate, red and green, very bright. But there's a couple of issues here that bear watching, hence the tornado warning that remains in effect until 7:15 for Lowndes County. Really west of the 10-Tom waterway, things are improving quickly. East of the 10-Tom, including Columbus, East Columbus, Southeast Columbus, New Hope, all these areas here, Whiteberry, the Cedar View area, Lakeover Estates. You know where you live out here, east and southeast of Columbus. You're still under this tornado warning. And you can see that circulation, maybe this one here, like Jacob was just mentioning, looks a little bit more impressive from a velocity perspective, and maybe that would be a better position in general to have a circulation on the southwestern side of this. Let's go back to our sky cam here in Columbus and see. We still have lights, great news there. But in general, we haven't received any reports, I don't think, of anything serious that has come out of this from Oktibbeha County.
No, in fact, we just saw something that came through the chat that there aren't, as of right now, no reports of any damage in Oktibbeha County. That's fantastic news. Again, we're watching a couple of circulations here, though, and so we're going to have to keep a close eye on these as they continue to push east. I'll point out we're watching that second circulation, Keith, and yet again, it looks like it's going to be an inflow region circulation. So I'm going to circle that inflow region, and then there's the circulation right there. So it bears watching, but right now, I would say, despite the fact that the colors aren't as bright, this circulation is probably more concerning in the near term. If this circulation here, like this one did, can sort of get back into the right position of the storm, back into the hook, back over here, rather than where it is, then it would become the more concerning circulation because there's nothing impeding the inflow. This storm here has all this rain-cooled air to its southeast from this storm, and so it's probably going to struggle as it pushes off to the east at this point. In fact, it doesn't even look as good as it did 10 minutes ago. This storm looking a little bit more structurally impressive right now, but it does not have the circulation in the right part of the storm as of yet. It looks like that is still the case, or at least not a tight circulation here. Having said that, probably not a bad idea to go through your tornado safety plan if you're watching us over towards Whiteberry and Highway 69 back over towards Lynn Estates. This thing's going to cross Frisco Road here near the community of Whiteberry and ultimately push off to the east. This is going to cross Lake Lowndes Road, probably somewhere just to the north and east of Highway 69. Ultimately, this thing's going to be pushing off into the east, into Lamar County. Right now, or into Pickens County, I should say, excuse me. Right now, I have not heard that the Weather Service in Birmingham has any plans to extend this warning. We'll let you know if that changes, though.
Keith, to Jacob Riley real quick, and you can see with our Alpha Insurance camera before we go over to him, moved the camera east, and now we are actually illuminating the lower levels of that storm with our camera here in downtown. So if there's something sinister going on, it's going to be somewhere in this general vicinity, and you can almost look at some of this contrast here a little bit more closely. There's a lightning flash, but there's a little bit of a lowering going on here. You can almost pick out something. It's hard to tell. It's very fine, but that would be part of the storm that we're concerned about. And we'll watch this. Jacob Riley.
Hey Keith, yeah, as this storm moved through southern Oktibbeha County earlier through Craig Springs, I just got a picture in from Twitter of a potential lowering. We've heard a couple of reports of that potential lowering, so we'll go ahead and pull that up full screen on the iPad. You can kind of see just a little bit of an ominous shape to the bottom of this cloud here as it moved through southern portions of Oktibbeha County earlier. But again, as we just mentioned from the EMA director, we have had 0 reports of damage in Oktibbeha County, which is always good news, but we are watching the storm as it has moved into Lowndes County. It looks like it has increased in intensity just a little bit, has a little bit better of rotation with it moving through potentially the city of Columbus right now, Keith. So I'll go ahead and turn things back over to you.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Let's go back to our sky cam here. Well, let's just do a quick radar look. Alex, have you been doing any more analysis over there? It still looks decent from a radar perspective.
Yeah, it still has that structure with it. I was looking at something, no formal warning with this, but probably some really gusty winds right now pushing into western Lamar County. If you're watching us over in Vernon, it's going to get pretty windy here in the next few minutes. I would suspect wind gusts 40, 50 miles an hour with that storm pushing into Lamar County. Here, again, it's the same thing. If the circulation is just not quite in the right spot, we have that secondary northern circulation that we've been watching, but you kind of see how it's kind of getting merged into this southern storm. I really kind of doubt this survives much longer. We'll watch it. I tend to think now we're going to sort of transition to this southern storm. Looks more structurally impressive. Having said that, again, we do have this circulation here. This is pushing right now on the north side of Highway 82. It's really broad. I tend to think that's going to be more straight line winds at this point. The southern circulation is, as we have been saying several times today, it's sort of in the wrong spot. That's your inflow region here. If you were looking for a tornado circulation, it would be over here in the bottom of this hook. Instead, the circulation has been over in here. It's been where we don't have rain falling. And typically when that's the case, we sort of look at this data with a grain of salt. We take it with a grain of salt. This is probably not particularly accurate wind data at this point. It looks ominous. The way that the storm is set up, though, tend to think we have some weak or broad circulation in this crossing Highway 69 right now near Lynn Estates, and that's going to continue to push off to the east-northeast into Pickens County. That'll ultimately move over towards the community of Liberty. But right now, this is not an impressive signature at this point. Keith?
And getting back to that point, we've been following this storm. I just was texting Cindy Lawrence, the Lowndes County Emergency Manager, and she's had no reports of any damage here as of yet in Lowndes County. And this thing has been in Lowndes County for a good 30 minutes or so, which is good news. We haven't heard of any serious issues. This is our off insurance camera looking back to the east. The camera's bobbing up and down. But if we were in the daylight hours, I'm sure we'd be able to see a pretty good lowering with some of this, but we just cannot see it because of the fact that it's dark, and it just does not look like we can see anything. But we still have the lights on in our view here in the city of Columbus as I pan back down to the south and to the west. So that's certainly good news relative to where we were 2 weeks ago.
I just want to add really quickly, if we can't see it, you're not going to be able to see it. Don't get out and try and see this thing. There's just a ton of rain, it's dark, there's not much lightning, just go ahead and get in your safe place.
Exactly, and the weather surface is going to continue this warning again until 7:15. Tornado Doppler radar indicated tornado warning situation here. So let's go back to our radar and show you this storm. I'm going to just put this in the lapse mode. This is 15 minutes, and here's the big picture. So if you've tuned in to WCBI TV tonight expecting to see CBS primetime programming, well, we'll try to get you there sometime here in the next couple of minutes once these storms hopefully pulse down a little bit. This is the only warning we have. There's no severe thunderstorm warnings, no tornado warnings other than the Lowndes County storm. Yes, we have some gusty wind in some of this potentially, especially in Lamar County. There's some additional cells trying to build back to the west too, out towards Water Valley, Grenada. Those at this point look like they're going to remain sub-severe. The tornado watch has been trimmed back. So these leading storms, these discrete storms, have been the most problematic for us today. So that is just for reference purposes. Now, speaking of Lamar County, let's go over to our Alpha Insurance camera there at Durham's Pharmacy in Lamar County. And we are looking at some wet weather, and our camera may have been repositioned for some reason, with maybe it reset itself for some odd reason. But we can't see anything there, so guess what? We're going to bail out of Lamar County right there. We could see some stuff earlier this evening, trust me, but right now it just looks pretty wet and somewhat stormy, but not really a lot of cloud to ground lightning with this, Alex. This is just one of those situations where we've had a lot of potential today. We've had tons of wind energy. Moisture's been a bit lacking. You know, the instability, you know, okay. We just have not been able to get these to hold together, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I'm noticing right now, Keith, and again, it's fantastic that we have, for the most part, gotten out of this without too many issues today. Wanted to put up this track. One of the things that I'm noticing here at this point, Keith, it looks like we're pretty rapidly transitioning to a straight line wind issue with this batch of storms that's now pushing into West Alabama. I want to put the times up on this for you. In Vernon, this thing is pretty much about to be on you. Same goes for the community of Star. If you're watching us in Hidagy, probably here within the next 3 to 5 minutes or so. This is going to be headed towards Millport by about 7:18, Bethlehem by about 7:20, Kennedy by about 7:24. So again, this is pushing off to the east, pretty good clip. I'll clear this off here, and we'll just sort of zoom in on the shear rate. And you can see we're sort of popping these individual spots, but if I pop on the velocity, you can sort of make out almost like a leading edge line here. It's kind of squirrely, but it extends basically from just north of Highway 17 in Lamar County back down towards Lowndes.